So this is going to be a more of a life update for me, where I'm at, what I'm trying to do in my life, and really, hopefully, directions I hope to go. Because I noticed there's a lot of things in my life that I'm just not happy with, directions that and decisions that I've made that really haven't taken me in necessarily the direction that I feel best. Um, but also, some of the stuff over the past, say, 2 weeks, because I haven't posted in a while, of really where I want to go with things and go with my life. Because really, for the past 3 months, I really got back into my fitness, and I absolutely love working out. I love um, let's just I love doing my workouts. I love um the positivity, and as I get further into my workouts, I really am able to mentally lock in my food, because I look at food like it is also the price for a workout, but it also, you're using it strategically for the energy that you need. And so as I got into working out, and I've gotten to the point where, I if you've followed me in the past, I like running the Disney half marathons. They're very much more addicting than a regular half marathon, but they cost a whole lot more. So not for everybody, but if you want to do a half marathon, or you've thought about it, a Disney one might be fun to do, especially if you're okay with Disney stuff, or maybe you like a Disney parks or whatever. Um, but this time I actually was able to convince my sister to come with me, to do a Disney run. She's always liked running in the past. She's never run a half marathon. She's run up to 6K races. Or 10K races, sorry, 6 miles, 10K races. And she in general enjoys those. A 5K race is can especially when you're in condition, is really what you can call a fun run, because it's like, oh well, that was easy. um and so a lot of people that don't do the cardio, that honestly your body needs it. You need roughly 150 minutes a week if you can do it. That's, you know 20 to 30 minutes a day, and you do not have to run, you can walk. And it's great. But anyway, I talked my sister into it, and she was kind of like, I can't believe you talked me into it. And she was posting on her social media, I can't believe he talked me into running a half marathon, and would send me stuff like, it was like one girl running, don't let somebody talk you into a half marathon, this training sucks, and everything. And it was all in good humor, but I could tell she was very nervous going into it, like, okay, this is going to be awkward. um and so this one was in Disneyland. We ran the Disneyland half marathon. I did not do as well as I hoped, or as I've done in the past. um Probably a lot of reasons for that, but honestly, it's just more training for me, a lot of learning in the process, and bettering my training. Um, but my went with my uh sister to Disneyland, and we spent a couple of days in Disneyland, Disney California. Um, just kind of had fun walking around, doing all the stuff, going to the convention, and kind of looking around and taking a lot of pictures. And she was like, I feel guilty because I'm sending pictures to my family, um and so my kids might feel left out, but her kids love seeing the pictures, so ultimately it wasn't really bad for her. But I'm really appreciative that she came with me. It was also over my birthday, so so I, it's like, I wasn't alone or anything like that. So it was nice. It was just a nice thing. But going through the race, we did the race. The medals are, Disney always has kind of like these nice medals for just finishing the race, because honestly, any time that you finish a race, like a long race, like a half marathon, not many people are willing to do that. And even though there's probably roughly about 10,000 people that run the Disney half marathons at a time. And some people might do it once. There's a lot of people that they run every single one of them. And I in general, last year I did not run. This year I ran, and 2 years, and then I've ran 2 years before that, just once a year. Um, and there's a lot of stuff that comes with that. But if you've ran a half marathon, not a lot of people actually have ran a half marathon. So you are part of a small percentage of people. It's also a hard task to go through, which I definitely encourage people to do hard things in life. So if you don't do a half marathon, do something that's a difficult task that you kind of have to work up for. And that might be starting a business. That might be, doing, if you're athletics, any type of, sport or, activity where, you're kind of pushing yourself to levels that you maybe haven't been able to go to before. That's really what one of the key things about life, and that life should be, is that you're constantly pushing yourself to that next level, and improving upon yourself, learning new things, learning how to be a better version of yourself. um and um that's probably, my workouts are probably one of the few just purely selfish things that I do during the year. I like going to Disney parks. I really love Disney World. Disney World's my place over Disneyland, but Disneyland was better for my sister, and so that's what we did. But um I it is that thing that I do for myself. I do the fitness, and it is for myself, but also it is so that I can better be a service to other people. If I'm out of shape, um, tired all the time, um, all these other things, what type of example am I to maybe you on here? If that's one reason that you're like, I like his content about fitness and running and personal growth. If I'm not working out, I don't feel I'm being the proper example to you. Like, one of the people that I follow, and I don't necessarily say, oh yeah, go be like this person, but I like to listen to David Goggins, because one of his things that I like that he says is, don't finish when you're tired, finish when you're done. And so, um, and I kept thinking that when I was running the half marathon this time, I was tired. It got really hot outside. That was one thing that a lot of people were like, "Oh gosh, that got bad." Um, because when you run, you want cooler weather, because otherwise you're really burning off a lot of energy. And I sorry, I kind of talk this way, and maybe I'm jabbering on, but I ran that half marathon. And I started running about mile 10. I was just exhausted. And so for mile 10 to well, it was about mile 11. I walked for like the 11th to the 12th mile, because um, I was exhausted. And just the heat was, and I was just like, don't stop until you're finished. And I had other things. My feet were hurting. Um, yeah, and so I walked, and it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. And I didn't stop. I was far enough ahead in the group. I wasn't worried necessarily about my time. It was ultimately I was slower than I wanted to be, but my time was good. And um, but I walked, but I just kept thinking to myself, don't stop when you're tired, stop with when you're done. And so I started walking because I could not run anymore. It was hurting. I I had slowed down to such a pace that I might as well have been walking rather than trying to have a jogging movement. And so I walked. And when I walk, obviously anytime you walk, you're at a slower pace. But I walked for a mile, and I did stuff to kind of stretch my legs out and take some weight off of my feet and other things to just kind of help me process through. And um and then when I hit that last mile, I was like, okay, by that time, I was feeling a little bit better. I started to run again. And I ran until the end of the race. And so it felt good to just finish that race. And that's one of the things is like, it's not always bad to just walk for a little bit if your body actually needs it. And at that point, it was like I wasn't going to be able to run anymore. My body was like, you're not running anymore at mile 11. And so that being 13 miles, I, you know, I just said, okay, I can't walk or I can't run. I'm going to walk this little bit until either the end of the race or I have my energy back. Like I said, I got my energy back and I started to run again. And so that's what I encourage, all of you to do in like your fitness levels and everything is when it comes down to crunch time, when it comes down to what you need to do, whether it's work, family, fixing your family, fixing your work, fixing your certain troubles in life. If you're not in alignment with who you want to be, work hard for it. Do not stop until you are finished. You might every once in a while just be so mentally exhausted. It's okay to slow down just a little bit. It's okay to walk when you have been running, um, as long as you're moving in the right direction. And um, that's generally a thing of life. Move in the direction that you want to go. If you start taking alternate paths, oh, I'll go this way instead of this way, you have to adjust, and that can wear you out. So, um, but it's also something that I've heard is if you have a goal, maybe you have an ultimate end goal. Like, I want to be this fit. I want to have a good family. I want to make this much money, type of thing. Maybe you have a specific job that you love doing. Work for that goal until you get to it. But you still can make little changes as you're going along the way. And one of the best things that I heard is more it's like space travel. You say, hey, we're going to go to this completely different galaxy. Or even if you're saying, hey, we're going to fly here to Mars, which, in the scheme of things universe wise is probably one of the closer planets that you can get to. That's not going to necessarily kill you. A lot of planets you go to, and there's, you know, the heat and other things won't be good. But um, off topic, but say you're going to go to Mars. That's one thing that, like they've talked about in sci-fi. Elon Musk talks about it all the time. You start off and you take off from the Earth. And as you're going, well, the planets are going in circles. So you move for a little bit, and then as you go, you might find that your ship's a little bit off, and so you adjust course just a little bit. And then you keep going, and then you adjust course just a little bit because you need to make those tiny little adjustments as you kind of learn, oh, okay, well, we're not going to hit exactly where we want to right now. Let's go to that next level. And eventually, just with these tiny little changes, you will get there. And that's also with, once again, if you're going to do running, like I like doing running, you go out and you run. Say you run a mile or a half mile. Well, you're going to learn a lot as you run that mile. One, and I kind of say this when I first started running, you feel all the jigglies in your body as you start running. Like you just kind of feel your body out of place. It just doesn't, it feels awkward. And so you end up having to walk a little bit or whatever. And then you get running a little bit further. And for me, one of those things, once I started running further, I realized, okay, if I do this with my form, it's better for my knees. Because one of the things when you start doing long distance running, you don't want to impact your knees because that's a good way to wear yourself out and cause injury. And then after my first half marathon, I knew, okay, well, my feet just didn't handle it very well. My arches got tired, and so they weren't holding me as well. And that goes into a lot of people, like there's a lot of people that have like plantar fasciitis, where it's like the plantar fasciitis or whatever at the bottom of your foot just is tired and stressed. And so that might mean that, like you do certain workouts and you get certain compression socks, and maybe you get certain things for your feet to kind of help you to do that. Or maybe you just learn a different way to run, or maybe you learn to run barefoot, because that can actually be really good for your feet, is to go run barefoot, because shoes aren't always the best for your feet. And so if you can run barefoot, or something that you're more using your actual foot rather than a shoe, then you can get to that next level and strengthen your feet. And as you kind of learn, you're going to consistently grow and change little things as you go. And eventually you kind of like, okay, how can I run faster? How can I run this way? How can I run for longer periods of time? And so that's when you start figuring out your eating habits, and like the vitamins. And when you like, I like to use the gel packs for running because that gives you energy. And more recently, I learned about the salt pills that you can learn for running, that can really kind of help you out with that long-term energy. And really, I haven't done them yet. I might give them a try as I continue my training on running. But I constantly encourage you to try everything and continually improve yourself, to be the better version of yourself so that you can better serve others. And so anyway, that's really that's my rant for today. Hopefully it is something that can help you in what you're doing, and help you move to that next level. But this is Shell Pop. You can also call me Jacob. But this is Shell Pop Culture, and have a good rest of your day.